cameraman John would say that this dish is twice cooked because we're basically reheating leftovers. First, we've got to make the leftovers though. We're going to do a hash. Hash is one of those things that's either served for breakfast and lunch. It is just leftovers into a pan, you crisp them up. But we need to create leftovers first. So sweet potato, we've got one large sweet potato that we've just peeled and diced and I've thrown into a roasting tray. And this would be really good to do if you had leftovers from a roast. Celeriac, and it doesn't matter what you use, if we had carrots, if we had pumpkin, if we had potato, it doesn't matter. Celeriac and sweet potato is what I'm going for this one, because it's what we had. Celeriac I've just top and tailed. So a celeriac is like a sweet potato in its texture, but it has sort of, the flavour is like a combination of celery, leek and potato. I think it's really, really nice, and it's beautiful in soups. If you just cook up the flesh and blitz it up in a soup, it's absolutely beautiful. But as I said, this is just what we had in the fridge, so I've used this to make our hash out of. Just take all of our skin off. And you can see how it has that relation to celery, very similar top to it to celery. It's like the root system of celery. Get rid of all of that. And then I'll just dice this up about the same, because it cooks about the same time as our sweet potato, I want the dice to be roughly the same as our sweet potato. We're not cooking chicken, Delilah, it's okay. Pop that in with our sweet potato. In fact, if I had potatoes, I would probably throw potatoes in because potatoes in hash are really nice. Give that a good mix. And then I've got some chorizo. Anything with chorizo in it's better. Just roughly chopped, just mainly because I want sort of the flavour or the oil to come out of the chorizo, and we're going to roast our vegetables in that beautiful flavour of chorizo. A good amount of oil. A little bit of maple syrup, which probably a lot of people haven't roasted in before, but it just adds a nice depth of flavour and a good little sweetness. It helps build a bit of a sauce in the bottom of our pan. And then juice of half a lemon, just to make sure that the maple syrup doesn't make it too sweet. And a good pinch of salt. Give that a toss. I'm going to throw that into the oven for about 25-30 minutes, just until our sweet potato and our celery are nice and soft. We are going to cook it again to get some crispiness on the outside, so all we're looking for is soft sweet potato and celery. My roasted vegetables with the potato, sweet potato and the celeriac and our little candy pieces of chorizo. I know we're going to make a hash out of that, but that, oh, I just tried some, it is so good just on its own. If you wanted to put that through some pasta and make a little sweet potato, celeriac, candied chorizo pasta with some fresh herbs and a little bit of lemon juice, it would be beautiful. We'll pop this into our pan now. We're going to cook it. So this is what I was saying before. Cameraman John refers to this as twice cooked. Basically reheated. Make sure I get all that syrup, because that syrup is just beautiful. And then just with a fork, just want to crush up my roasted vegetables, and then we'll start to caramelise them again. I've broken up our sweet potato, and that's going to start to caramelise on the bottom, which is what you want with a good hash. What I am going to do is add some eggs. So the areas where we've still got, just move it about, a little bit of surface area of our pan left is where I want to break my eggs and cook them. I reckon I've got enough room for 3 eggs in there. Just break up some brie. I just want that to, same thing, I'll try and get some contact with the pan and let that sort of start to melt into our hash. And if you've got a nice big pan like this, you'll be able to get away with not putting this under the grill and just cooking it from the bottom, caramelising and charring those vegetables and cooking the eggs through. That, I reckon, is enough cheese. And just some freshness with some tomatoes on top. So I've just got some cherry tomatoes on top. Now again, if you were going to put this under the grill, obviously the tomatoes would blister and char, but this way we can keep them nice and fresh. Anywhere between 5 and 10 tomatoes, depending on how big your pan is. A little season of salt on top of our hash. And now it's just a matter of medium heat, cooking it from the bottom up so we get that crust on the bottom. That's probably the most important bit. with a hash is that there's a nice crust on the bottom, like you're making a risotto, really. Oil. And that's it. And then you would take it to the table like that and sort of just stick your fork or your spoon in there, and then it's got everything you could possibly want. There's vegetables, so it's healthy. There's chorizo that we've candied with maple syrup. Cheese, just yummy. And tomatoes, they're healthy. It's another one of those fantastic days on Ben's menu where I don't have to cook and I have someone cook for me. And I've got Lexi from Bessemer. What are we cooking, Lexi?
Ben, today we're just going to do a healthy apricot and walnut loaf in our saucepan on top of the stove.
I like the sound of healthy.
Yes, it only has a little bit of butter and a low-fat yogurt, so it's pretty good for us.
All right, put me to work.
Okay, so what I'd like you to do for me today is we're going to whisk some egg whites with some sugar, and just until the stiff peaks form. Okay. And while you're doing that, I'm just going to put the yogurt together because the recipe requires an apricot flavoured yogurt. So if you have trouble trying to find that, just use your natural low-fat yogurt, and I'm just adding a little bit of apricot jam to it, which maybe does take away a little bit of the low fat, but it gives it a delicious flavour. And add our jam.
So I had 2 egg whites here. How much sugar?
Half cup.
Half cup. And I'm whisking that to a soft peak, you said, didn't you?
Yes, please. And we'll just stir this through, just so it's got that yummy flavour.
Not only is it healthy, but you get a bit of a workout.
That's true. Okay, so while you're doing that, I'm just going to tell everyone a little bit about our saucepan. Once again, this is a very versatile piece of our cookware that we have in the range. It's a 2.5 litre saucepan, and whereas you look at a saucepan and you think, oh no, that's just something I'm going to boil my vegetables in, cook pasta in, but this is the magic of Bessemer, as you say. We're going to turn it into an oven. So I might just add all these ingredients. So we've got some carrot that we're putting in here, some chopped apricots, walnuts that we've also chopped, so we'll pop them in. How are you going there with that whisking? Come on, we need a bit more muscle into that, I think. It's not peaky yet.
It's been a long time since I've whisked by hand.
So I'll just mix that through a little bit. And we do have some bicarb and some melted butter we'll just put into there. So everything goes into the pan. Make sure you're using your nylon utensils or your wooden spoons when you're mixing things in the pan. I'll add in the yogurt while you're still whisking.
I reckon you've stitched me up here, Lexi.
I was amazed when you said you were going to whisk it yourself by hand. I could probably have the cake baked by now, Ben.
I'm more than happy to swap.
No, you're doing a wonderful job.
No, I seriously think you've stitched me up. So what we're going to do is we're going to pass it around the crew and they're each going to have a go.
That's a great idea.
Trying to get this to a soft peak. Amy, done all the hard work. We're almost there.
Let's show him how it's done, Amy.
I did all the hard work. I loosened it for you. Lily. Thanks, Ames. Good work. There you go, Lil.
Oh, look at that action.
Like you've done this before. How are we looking, Lexi?
Oh, I think that's looking pretty good. That looks peaky, don't you think?
Oh, almost.
Seems wonderful.
5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Thanks, Lil.
Beautiful. Thank you. Oh, maybe you better do it a bit more. No, just kidding.
So you happy with that?
I'm happy with that. So you need to just pop that into there for me.
You've got lots of kids at home. Get a little production line going, I reckon.
Yes. Lovely. Thank you. And so we're just gently, now we really don't want to do too much stirring now.
I worked really hard to get all that out.
Yes, I know. So I don't want to beat it all out. No. And then we just add our flour. Now add all the flour at once, because if you overstir, you're going to find your mixture, the texture of the cake just gets a little bit too heavy. So we just want to gently now fold it into the pan.
It's still, I know I've seen this done quite a few times now, but it's still does my head in seeing you mix the dough in the saucepan. This is something I used to do when I was at uni.
Yes.
When I had no mixing bowls. I had to mix something up. All I had was a saucepan.
Oh, right.
And just mix it in a saucepan and then wash the saucepan out.
And if you had had besame, you would have been able to cook in it as well.
Where were you 10 years ago when I was at uni?
I was around. So it's quite a stiff, dry mixture. And we just then spread it over the pan. So if you really wanted to, you could substitute the white self-raising for a whole meal. It would just make it a little bit heavier again, but adds a different texture. And basically that's it, and I just give it a wipe around so that we don't...
I know why now.
Good. Let's see how good you are.
Because this bit here is metal, it doesn't have the non-stick coating, you don't want it baked in.
Exactly, because we don't like washing up, we just want to wipe things over, so save yourself some work. So there's our cake mixture in there. We're just going to pop our lid on. Once again, the little indicator on the lid, turn the opening of the vent in line with it, and we've got ourselves an oven. And just pop it on.
It's a very gentle heat, isn't it?
It is a gentle heat, that one, so we'll see how we go. And so we just need to allow the heat to travel across the bottom, comes up the sides. Of course, then the lid grabs the heat, and we go back to our touch hot, which is our 1, 2, 3 touch hot. And once that's at that temperature, it's equivalent to a moderate oven. So that's when our cooking begins. That's when we start timing our cake, and it should take around about the 20 to 25 minutes. We never say exactly because everybody's cooktop is different.
To finish off your apricot and walnut cake, you've got some stone fruit and a griddle.
Correct.
What are we doing?
What we're going to do is we're just going to throw this stone fruit onto our grillette, we call it, so that it gets that nice char, switch it off, and then that will just become nice and juicy, and we'll serve that on the side with some mascarpone cream. So to check that your grill is ready, with all of our cookware, as you've heard me say before, we try not to use it on the high heat. The high heat isn't good for our coating, so everything has to be preheated. So what I've done, Ben, is I've just put this on with a medium flame. I've had it heating now for approximately 5 minutes, but you need to test your pans because different things you're going to do in your pan requires a different sizzle. So for example, people would look at this pan and think, oh, that's what I'll do my steak, my hamburgers. You want a nice sharp sizzle. But if you were doing a delicate fish, you wouldn't want as much heat in. So it's all to do with the sound. So we're heating this up because we know we're going to switch it off with the fruit. Can you hear that nice sizzle to the pan? So we don't have to add any oils or grease our pan. It's well conditioned, so we're just going to pop our fruit onto the grill. Looks so pretty, doesn't it?
You do.
And just pop it on like that. And again, you can actually turn this pan into an oven as well. So just by adding a lid, so this is out of our 32 centimetre size. So our lid just pops on the top like so. And if you wanted to, you could debone a chicken or pork chops or something like that on there, and you could roast them on top of the stove because this lid now turns it into an oven. Okay, so once again, we're going to open up our vent, even though we want a little bit of the juice, the steam to go through and make those juicy, but we'll open up our vent and turn the heat off now.
Then we just let them sit.
Yes, let them sit.
And how close is our cake?
So the cake's only about 2 to 3 minutes off. It's still just a little bit, we've just got to wait to when we touch the centre of the cake that it's dry and bounces back, because normally a cake in the oven, it cooks from the top down. So you pop a skewer in to see if it's cooked in the bottom. In Bessemer, it cooks from the bottom up. So the very last part to cook is in the centre.
So we've got a few minutes left on that.
A few minutes left on that.
Done.
These should be ready and we're ready to serve.
Serve it with some mascarpone.
Sounds lovely.
Oranges are a beautiful fruit and one of my favourite fruits to eat, but sometimes it can be hard to get to the flesh on the inside. But not like a mandarin where you can sort of peel with your thumb and get to those segments. So an easy way of doing it is just by topping and tailing. This is very similar to the way in which I de-seed my tomatoes. So you want to take enough off so that you open up those segments. so you can see the segments on the inside. Same with the other end. Then just run your knife through to the middle and you'll feel once you get there, there'll be a little bit of give. So you've got through to this point here where all the segments sort of come together. From there, once you peel it back, it will give you access to those segments. So you can actually now treat it like you would a mandarin and put your thumb underneath and peel those segments of orange out. And it makes for eating the orange a lot more enjoyable, I reckon. And you can just take it to work and have it like you would a mandarin. So you get these nice segments of orange, just like you would the mandarin, and just do the same with each of the segments as you peel them out. So give it a try. It might be for you, it might not be, but I like it. One of the first dishes I ever learned to cook in grade 9 cooking, apart from spaghetti bolognese, which is the first thing everyone learns to cook in grade 9 cooking, was chicken stroganoff. My beautiful teacher, Miss Cripps, taught me how to make it, and then I made it for my family that night, and they absolutely loved it. And I haven't really made it since, so today we're going to make chicken stroganoff. Step 1 in making our chicken stroganoff, we've got some flour here, which I'm just going to coat my chicken in. So about a tablespoon of flour, a good pinch of salt, and then about a tablespoon of Keen's mustard powder. We'll give that a mix. And this is going to thicken up our sauce for our stroganoff. Now while that sits there and we let the mustard powder do its thing, we'll start to cook off our onions. So I've got a thinly sliced brown onion, a little bit of olive oil in our pan, and I'll pop that in and just sweat that down for about 5 minutes. You don't want lots of colour on it, but you want it to be translucent, you want it to soften, and you want it to start to bring some of the sugars out of the onion. Our onions started to soften, there's a little bit of colour on there, not too much, so we can pop our chicken in now. I'll add a little bit more oil, and I'll turn the heat up because we want to start to brown that chicken off. A little bit more oil, and now we want to get some colour on our chicken. So we can cook a little bit harder now. I'm going to cook that chicken off, brown the edges, then I'll add in my tomatoes, so a can of our Ardmona crushed tomatoes, and then I'll reduce that right down, almost to a sort of a tomato puree, tomato paste sort of consistency. And the view behind me, speaking of my family and how much they loved this dish when I was in grade 9, that view behind me is Salamanca, which is probably the most iconic view here in Hobart. Now we're really, really lucky that we're staying at the Sullivan's Cove Apartments, which is where we stay, my family now, Sally, Charlie and Jack, when we come down to Hobart. And the main flavour in stroganoff is paprika. So we're going to add a good tablespoon of our paprika with some garlic, about 1 clove of garlic, which we've diced up. Just want to cook off that spice, cook off the paprika, and then we're going to add our tomatoes. So 1 tin of our Ardmona tomatoes, crushed, pop that in. And as I said, I'm going to reduce that right down. So I'm going to almost halve the amount that's in there. So I'm going to put a pinch of salt in. Anytime you add crushed tomatoes, always follow it with salt. And cook that right down to a really rich puree. Our crushed tomatoes are really rich and really thick now. So I can add in a cup of chicken stock, and then we're going to reduce that down again. So reduce down by half, and then once we've reduced this liquid down by half, we're going to add in our sour cream, a cup of sour cream, stir that through, and then our spaghetti, and that's our stroganoff done. Our sauce is reduced down, it's nice and thick. Again, that's what we want a nice thick sauce. Now we can add in our cup of sour cream. Stir that through. I can turn my heat off now. Stir through our sour cream, and then in with that will go our pasta. So I'm using a whole grain pasta. I actually think it's better than the normal spaghetti. It's got a better texture and also a really nice flavour to it. All right, pasta in. So we'll grab I reckon we can get away with quite a bit of pasta in there because we've got quite a bit of sauce. So it's probably 250 grams of our cooked spaghetti. And just stir that through. I don't know whose idea it was to cook stroganoff on a white tablecloth, but I'm sure it wasn't mine. good amount of parsley and pop on top. So that's our stroganoff. As I said, I haven't made this since I was in grade 9. So I'll see if it tastes the same as it tasted in grade 9. Yep, that's exactly how I remember it. I remember my family loving it, and now I know why. For today's recipes, visit bensmenu.com.au.